Welcome to Twilight Tales, where the strange feels familiar and the unknown strangely comforting. If you enjoy stories that send a shiver down your spine while keeping your soul at ease, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. There's always room for another curious heart around our little campfire. Tonight's story is called A Ghost Who Leaves Gifts on Your Doorstep. Mira always said the house had good bones. It sat at the edge of a quiet street in a town where autumn seemed to linger, longer than anywhere else. Every front porch wore pumpkins like jewelry, and wind chimes whispered secrets no one cared to decipher. She had moved into the house alone after a long, painful divorce and a need to start over. The structure was old, creaky in places but charming, full of arched doorways and frosted windows that caught the morning sun just right. The neighbors were kind, in a distant postcard sort of way. They waved, smiled, and then vanished behind their hedges. It suited Mira fine. She wasn't looking for friends. She wanted peace. That peace came with an odd little surprise. The first gift appeared 3 days after she moved in. A small velvet box sat neatly in the center of her doormat. There was no note, no label. Inside, nestled in navy blue satin, was a silver thimble. Mira held it up in the morning light, turning it between her fingers. It looked old, handmade, with tiny floral engravings around the base. She smiled despite herself. She used to collect thimbles as a child, had someone known, maybe a neighbor. She knocked on doors up and down the block, thimble in hand, asking politely, but no one claimed it. A few looked at her a little too long. One elderly woman simply said, "Oh, it started, has it?" and then gently closed the door. Mira laughed it off, though her skin prickled. Small towns, she said to herself. She kept the thimble on the windowsill. The next morning, there was another gift. The second gift, pressed violet, perfectly preserved, between two glass panes in a wooden frame. No signature, no indication of where it had come from. Just there, sitting on her doormat again, waiting. She picked it up slowly this time. It was delicate, beautiful. She could almost smell spring in it, faint and fading. Mira hadn't mentioned to anyone that violets were her grandmother's favorite flower, that her grandmother used to press them into books when she was a little girl. There was no way anyone could know that. Still, she placed the violet next to the thimble. A quiet part of her buried under reason and logic began to stir, and then came the third gift, the letter. This time, it wasn't an object. It was a single piece of parchment, folded neatly. On it, in elegant ink, was written, "For the kindness you gave in a time of sorrow." That was it. No name. No clue. Mira's hands trembled slightly as she read it. Her mind went back, years ago, to a hospital bed, a lonely woman she had sat with for hours just talking. She was a stranger then, just someone Mira found crying, in a hallway. They had shared stories in silence. The woman had died a few days later. Mira never knew if her presence had mattered. Now, she wondered. That night, she left a candle burning in the window, not for protection, but invitation. The presents, the gifts continued once a week, always early morning, always personal, a music box that played the lullaby her mother sang before sleep, an old yellowed book with her childhood library stamp, a small locket containing a faded photo of her and her late brother, one she never remembered taking by now. Mira had stopped questioning the how. She accepted the quiet magic of it, the comfort, the tenderness. She began to speak aloud in the evenings, softly near the doorway. "Thank you," she'd say, or, "That was a beautiful memory." Sometimes just, "I hope you're at peace." And sometimes, when the house was silent and the wind blew just right, she swore she heard a hum. Not frightening, not mournful, just present. Like someone was there, listening, humming along. The warning one morning, the gift was different. A bell, tiny, old and tarnished, attached to a worn string with a note, "Hang this above your door. Do not ignore this." The writing was the same, that elegant hand, but this message had weight to it. Urgency. Mira didn't hesitate. She hung it, immediately, the bell swaying gently with the breeze that slipped through the hallway that night. She woke to the sound of it ringing, not soft, not casual. Wild, she rushed to the door, heart pounding, hands cold. There was nothing outside, just the streetlight flickering, but when she looked down, another note had appeared. "It won't come back, I promise." Mira stood in the doorway for a long time, bare feet on cold wood, holding that note close. She whispered, "Thank you," and in return, the bell stilled, as if calmed. The visitor winter rolled in, slow and gray. Mira had started to leave, little things in return. A fresh candle, a poem, even a cup of tea once. She never saw who, or what, took them. But they were always gone by morning. Then one evening, as snow began to fall in soft, lazy flakes, she saw a figure at the edge of her yard, dressed in white, indistinct, like a smudge in a painting. Still she didn't move, just watched. The figure nodded once, a slow, almost regal bow, and vanished with the wind. Mira cried quietly, not in fear, but in gratitude, for whatever had watched over her, for whatever remembered her kindness, for whatever believed in returning it. She left a note the next morning. "You're always welcome here." There was no gift that day, but the sun came out for the first time in a week. The final gift. Spring approached with shy blossoms and melted snow. Mira had grown stronger, lighter, more at peace. She laughed more, slept easier. The last gift came on the first truly warm morning of the season. It was a key, small, iron, old. Attached to it was a tag that simply read, "When you're ready." No lock, no explanation, just a quiet invitation to something more. She placed it on her nightstand beside a candle and a thimble. It glowed faintly in the early sun, as though it held all the weight of her story, and all the promise of the story still to come. Thank you for joining tonight's tale in Twilight Tales. If you enjoyed this journey into the gentle shadows, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with fellow dreamers and night thinkers. We'll be waiting here by the fire for the next strange story to find its way to you. Until then, keep your doors unlocked for wonder, and maybe leave a little gift of your own.